Welcome to another episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers. I'm your host, Dennis Coral. I'm the founder of Coral Wealth Management. I'm a wealth advisor and retirement planning expert with over 20 years of experience. It is our intention in doing this podcast to provide education regarding different topics that are beyond numbers. So as we build wealth, as we accumulate savings, as we build for our retirement, I found that it's important to share topics that are just as relevant, that can help you make informed decisions. Today is no exception. We have a great guest, and we're going to intertwine about the topic of immigration and wealth management and how they're actually together. These countries made of immigrants, and the people come here looking for not just opportunity for themselves and their family, but also looking for a better financial future for themselves. So today we have our guest, Deirdre Nero. She has a lot of wealth of experience. She's the founder of Nero Immigration Law. She's been practicing what she does for over 20 years. So we're going to have a conversation about what's new, what's trending, myths about immigration, and how that intertwines with wealth management. So without any further ado, Deirdre, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
No, I'm so excited that we're doing this. You're a friend. I've known you for many, many years, so I really appreciate you taking your time to do this. I know you're always busy and on the run.
Thank you for accommodating my schedule.
Oh, it's a pleasure. No, it is. And by the way, congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I know you and Eric, so I'm really happy for both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're happy.
So let's dive into this topic.
Yeah.
As you know, this country was founded by immigrants. Your grandparents came from Italy to Ellis Island in the 1900s.
It was actually my great-grandparents. They came in the early 1900s through Ellis Island, and super cool. A couple of years ago, we went on a trip, and I was like, look, Eric, I really want to do like the whole Statue of Liberty Ellis Island tour. And he's like, oh, it's going to be like the whole day. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like important that we do it. And I hadn't done it since I was a child. So as an adult and as an immigration attorney who's now like invested in the topic in a different way, other than just, family heritage, I really wanted to do that. And when we went, it hit me definitely in like a different way as an adult practicing immigration law. But also, we had a really cool experience at Ellis Island where we found the ship manifests of that listed my great-grandparents on them. And that was really cool. They have actually like a research center in Ellis Island where you can, if you can
look up somebody.
Some of the information, you can look up your relatives and see like when they came and everything. And so that was that year. And I was thinking I should probably get these for my office because they would be a really nice addition to the wall in my conference room. So that's the next step with that.
So tell me about your practice. What do you focus on and what do you do nowadays?
So my firm, I started it in 2009. So it's been over 16 years now. And from day one, I always focused primarily on what we call business immigration. So typically that encompasses investors, entrepreneurs, people that are coming to the U.S. either to join a U.S. business or to start a U.S. business. That can be people who have businesses in their country that they're looking to expand or reinvent in the United States, or it can be something completely fresh. So we really have like a really cool variety there with entrepreneurial people. But then we also work with companies who are bringing over foreign nationals to come work for their company. A lot of times it's people who are already in the U.S. Maybe they were students, foreign students at a U.S. university, and then they're looking to transition into the U.S. workforce or even start their own businesses sometimes. We work a lot with other people who are immigrating based on something other than fleeing persecution, but based on like their talent, their skills, their experience, a lot of times their money, their investments and their wealth is a driving factor. But our typical client, their immigration involves something other than fleeing persecution. Now, that being said, it's very interesting because even though that's not the primary motivation for most of my clientele, there's always kind of this overarching theme of the reason to have an immigration journey to the U.S., whether it be temporary or on a more permanent basis, usually involves some kind of looking for a better, more stable future, more opportunities, expansion of wealth, So even though it's not necessarily like what we call humanitarian immigration, which deals a lot with like asylum and refugees and people that are really in like bad and tragic situations trying to escape to the U.S. for refuge. Even though we don't typically deal with that type of clientele, there's still that theme of coming to the U.S. to make a better life or make better opportunities either for the immigrants themselves or for their children.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because in our practice, we provide financial security, and we always talk to our clients about bringing them safety, helping them sleep better at night, especially with their finances and money.
Exactly.
Because I always also say, nothing happens without money.
That's true. And immigration is no exception to that rule because not only do lawyers such as myself charge, pretty, not a ton of money, but, we charge well for our services because it's very complex work. But the government itself charges substantially for a lot of these applications. Almost every single thing that you're applying or trying to do involved with immigration is going to involve fees and costs. And then you add on lawyers and other types of professionals that, depending on the type of the case, need to get involved. There's always some kind of financial professional. It's all kind of intertwined, but it's not cheap. So nothing happens without money is not an untrue statement. That's definitely true.
No, I agree with you. And also that comes with financial security. I mean, a lot of our clients that we work with, they might have come from other countries or they built their wealth in other countries and they want to come with their money to the United States to expand that. Or maybe they want to have a better life for their kids.
Absolutely.
Or their grandkids.
We see that every day. And that stretches across all countries that we work with. So my firm is not specific to working with certain countries. We obviously, because we're located in Miami, we have larger clientele, like portions of clientele from certain parts of the country just due to the fact that we are located in Miami. But a really cool thing that I love about immigration law is that because it's federal law, we can practice in
all
states.
Okay.
But also, obviously, because of the nature of what this business is, we help people from all over the world.
Oh, wow.
So as long as we're able to communicate with them, and at my firm, that's English and Spanish are the two languages that we work with clientele in. We've been lucky enough to work with people from, I think, about 48 states now. Wow. I mean, 48 countries and about probably like 25 or so states.
Wow. In preparing for our podcast, I was doing some research and I saw that we're in Florida, as you know, and there's 400,000 people that immigrate to our state every single year.
Yeah.
And of that, about 125,000 of those come just to Miami alone, and they're coming from other countries.
Yeah.
So the need for your services is high.
Yeah. I didn't know those numbers exactly, but I'm not surprised by them. It sounds about right from what I would guess. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's immigration attorneys all over the country, but obviously down here in South Florida, we're quite busy as immigration attorneys because it's the gateway to Latin America, obviously, but then we also have a lot of Western European clientele as well, and one a lot, but also the political situation in Canada is not to everyone's liking. So that was another primary motivation that we hear a lot.
Yeah.
But lots of Canadians as well.
So it's actually the numbers, since I was researching them, 125,000 is the highest in the country at the moment.
I'm not surprised.
So how do your services help
by that question because I'm like, I mean, no, actually, I deal with a lot of individuals. Well, first, to backtrack, my firm also does what we call family immigration. So when we do family immigration, obviously, yes, we're just dealing primarily with individuals. There's really like no company involved per se, because that's not part of the case. We help people with citizenship, and those are, true individual clientele. But on the business immigration side, we're also dealing with a lot of individuals because we do a lot of cases where there's a company and then not necessarily the applicant, the foreign national, is an owner or an investor in that company. It's not always that way. Sometimes they are. Sometimes it's their company 100%. So yeah, we're dealing with the company, but it's really like
the individual,
the guy or the woman that is trying to immigrate that is the owner of that company.
That's
so
right.
You're kind of getting like, yes, we're working with companies, but also individuals. And then a lot of times it's, let's say a U.S. established company that is trying to have a foreign national, very talented or professional person or someone with special skills, what have you. And then you're kind of doing like double, where you're dealing with the company as your client, but also the individual. It's really hard to separate the two. You have to be careful with that because sometimes you get into situations where maybe the interests of the individual and the company aren't completely aligned. So it's very important to have a good contract and be very clear with everyone, who is actually the client, or are you representing both parties concurrently, and all of that stuff. Lots of liability issues and things that we deal with, but outside of all of that legal mumbo jumbo, like the awesome part is that we get to work with businesses, but also a lot with individuals. So it's nice because it personalizes everything. And something that I love about what we do is that you're really impacting people's lives in like a very significant way, which is both amazing, but also like a big responsibility and kind of like a heavy thing to have on your shoulders sometimes, because that the outcome of the case you're working on has so much riding on it,
Right.
and in so many ways, to the company, to the people, to their kids, it's a lot.
Give me an example of someone you've helped recently that
Oh my
you
gosh.
transformed their lives. Because one of the reasons why I invited you to this podcast is because you're passionate about what you do. I've known you for many years, and you're always very passionate about helping people, and you do transform people's lives. I mean, they didn't have an opportunity to live where they wanted to live, which is the United States, before meeting you. And then through you, thanks to you, not only they have the opportunity for themselves, but also they have families. They may have kids.
Yeah.
They may have grandkids. They're giving themselves and their kids and their families an opportunity to better themselves financially.
Yeah.
So can you share a recent story?
Yeah, I mean,
somebody you
we
worked
have
recently?
so many stories, but one that I love to think about, because it was just like a great story. It was a guy, very lovely gentleman, and his family had a really fantastic corporate job. And we did, his basically like a corporate transfer visa, where a U.S. company, which is was a larger company with locations all over the world, and this individual was a high level, managerial executive type person in one of their foreign offices, and they brought him to the U.S. and so we helped with that visa where we transferred him. And then after a couple of years and a couple of renewals of that, he started saying to me, I really think that I want to do this entrepreneurial thing and that entrepreneur. And I was like, oh, the visa that you're on right now is not going to allow for that, because something that most people understand, but not everyone understands, is like each type of visa or working permission or, whatever, what have you, benefit in immigration has very specific rules as to what you can and can't do. And so a lot of people don't understand the boundaries that are being put on them. And so they look to us then, okay, help me break free of this, even though this has been great for the years that it was working for me. Now I want to do, now I'm in the U.S. and I see the opportunities that are all around me. and I want to do this thing and I want to do that thing and I want to start this business and that business, and really like an entrepreneurial guy, but that was like in a fully corporate situation. But you could tell that he had the entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm pretty sure from what I now know about him and his history that, was a business owner back before he became a corporate person. So I was like, okay, like we can do that. But what I think the best thing for you to do is to get a green card, because then you're kind of like, once you have your green card, you're free of like those shackles, and gotcha. You can stay with the company if you want, but you could also simultaneously launch businesses. It wouldn't be that you would have to leave your corporate job, right? But you would then have the freedom to do other things without the restrictions that are being placed on you by your current visa, which, by the way, is a great visa. Like, no, not to knock that visa that this gentleman had, which was an L visa for multinational executive and manager transfers. Great visa, fantastic. But we went about getting him a green card, and we actually did it through the company. And recently we were lucky enough to get the call where they were like, we finally want to become citizens, because they had kind of been eligible, and then they were like putting it off, and they just became U.S. citizens. So that's like, I love that story because it kind of plays through like the whole life cycle of what we do with clients, except for like the very first part wasn't part of their life cycle. But a lot of times we have, for example, we're bringing them over, we help them get a tourist visa just so they can visit, and then they're like, well, we really want to go to a university here. So then when we help them switch to a student visa, they study in the university. Then we help them transition into the U.S. workforce as a worker. And then we help them maybe get their green card. And then we help them get their citizenship. And then once they have their citizenship, I would love to sponsor my, mom who's still living in my home country. And then now that you're a citizen, you can do that. And so like, because I've been practicing so long, I'm not that young, so I've been at this for a while now. I've been lucky enough to have clients that I've taken like through the entire journey from, their first arrival to the U.S. to now being citizens and being able to bring over some of their family members to the U.S. So it's very rewarding in that way. And one of my favorite things to do as an immigration attorney is help people become U.S. citizens. Even though those aren't the most complex or sexy cases a lot of times, they're the most rewarding at the end of the day, because we know that we've like helped someone kind of like close that chapter almost on, immigration can get crazy, right? It's a lot of work a lot of times to be keeping up constantly with whatever has to be renewed, or the next thing you have to apply for, or the next benefit, or the fee you have to pay, keeping up with all of the changes. Mm-hmm. So like once we can get someone their citizenship, they can finally like
relax,
close that book of chaos and expenses and work, and just kind of
that's awesome.
Be like totally free, And yes. So it's really rewarding. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, In our next podcast, I want to now then dive into some of the details that you kind of share with me just now on the recent trends. I know every administration, as they take on change things around in the world of immigration.
For sure.
So I thought this is just so timely. So let's just end this podcast with that note, with that happy note.
Yeah.
I love that your eyes lit up when you talked about your
know.
clients. It's just, you can see your passion.
I'm lucky enough to have found an area of law that I really think is important.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And with that, I want to thank you for watching this episode of Wealth Beyond Numbers with Deirdre Nero. Stay tuned for our next episode. We're going to talk about the recent changes and developments in immigration and how it affects people as they transition into the United States, as they create wealth. I'm your host, Dennis Coral. And as we like to say at Coral Wealth Management, financial and retirement planning, confidence starts here. Thank you.